Well, good morning, my friends. It is Valerie with Sure Scots a Lot, and I am here with you this morning. It is 10 a.m. Mountain Daylight Time. I'm in Calgary, Alberta, and I would like to share with you a couple of different techniques for making your coloring really easy and really fun. Okay, those are, in my mind, are the two most important things. All right, I do like to take the time every now and then, like if I have a beautiful flower or something like that, to do my shading, to take my time and using my different colors and working together with all of them. But most of the time, I like to have a way that I can whip something up really, really fast. And so I have, over time, collected a few different ideas that are quite different and very easy to accomplish. All right, so I'm going to be basically using alcohol markers today, as well as some crayons, and I'm going to be using Tim Holtz's well, they're watercolor pencils, but I'm just using them as pencil crayons today because they have a lot of pigment in them. So they're quite nice to color with, just without water. All right. So just to remind you before we get started to like this video, subscribe to my channel, please. I'm trying to grow my YouTube channel to 100 members. All right. It doesn't cost you anything to subscribe. And if you do that and turn on the notifications, then you will get a notification every time I post a video, whether it's live or pre-recorded. Okay, so here is our first outing. All right, now this one is originally from a very talented lady named Janice Gilhooly, and she was a close to my heart consultant. She's from Australia, and I love this idea, and especially if you have something that has a lot of detail and you want a bit of color on it, but you don't want to spend all that time coloring. This really is the way to go. Now I've done a couple ahead of time just so you can see, and here I used I'm using my Spectrum Noir alcohol markers. All right, so I use the antique pink blend, and I use the dark color here, but I think it's a little too dark, so I'm going to go down to the mid color, and I'm just going to test that here. I just want to see how much lighter it is. Oh, quite a bit. Yes, I think I'm going to like the mid color. All right, now, as I did mention in my supply list, I am using the Neenah paper, which is spelled Neenah, Solar, and it is a very bright white. All right, and it is designed specifically to use with alcohol markers. All right, so yes, now you don't have to use Neenah, but I like it. I've had it for a long time. I bought a big pack of it. So anytime I'm focusing on my alcohol ink markers, then I will use this cardstock. And just a word, so about my stamp set. So the two stamp sets that I noted for the cupcake, they were too small. I didn't like that. I wanted to have a bigger surface to show you. So I just went and found an outline online, and then I put my sheet of 8.5 by 11 cardstock into my printer, and I just printed them out. All right, and that works just fine. The thing is, you need to just leave it for a while and let it dry. Okay, so these I stamped with an alcohol ink friendly black ink. I've used the VersaFine Clair. You can also use their VersaFine Onyx Black. Also, if you're using just alcohol markers, Memento will work. You just want some sort of ink that will work well and not smudge or run when you're using your alcohol markers. Okay, so basically you can see here, you're not going to color in all your image. Whoops, wrong way. Okay, you're just going to color parts in. And you're not going to worry about shading because it sort of shades itself as you're going. All right, and I have put a mat behind my work because alcohol ink does go through the paper. That's the whole idea. It is absorbed by the paper. And I don't want to get any on my back or on my table, on my background. Okay, so here we're just going to, you can do a straight line or you can do a curved line. Here I did a straight one. Here I did a curved one. Okay, so this time I'll do a curved one so you can see the difference. All right, and then you just color that space in. Just like that. All right, and here, okay, I'm going to do another curved one. And the curves do not have to be identical. Okay, and you'll notice all I'm doing, once I've got my curve identified, I'm just coloring it in, that whole space. Okay, so here's another one. And I think I just love how easy this technique is. And I also love the medium color better. Then I'm just going to add a couple of little accents here and there. Okay, I might put one on the tail too. Okay, and that's it. Pig done. Okay, so that's the pig. Now for the goose, for this one I used my citrus blend. But I think I'm going to use this time my gold yellow blend. And I'm going to go with the light one to start with, I think. That might be a little too light. Yeah, I think I'll go with the mid again. Okay, so here we go. Now, this is a very skinny image. All right, I'm going to go down a little further this time. I'm going to draw like this. And then I'm just going to imagine where that line would have ended up here, if this had been a solid image. And then I'm just going to color that whole part in. There you go. And then we'll just give a little bit here and there. The bell. A little bit on the top of that wing. Done. Cool, right? I love this. It is just so easy. Okay, so that's the goose. Okay, and then for the horse, I used my tan blend. Okay, and I used the darkest, I think. Do I want to try the mid? No, too light. I think we're going to go with the dark again. All right, so this is a pretty big surface here. All right, and so I think for this second horse, I'm going to come over a little bit. I'm going to make it quite a bit more curved. And I'm just going to color that in. Now, when you're working with a bigger surface, okay, it might get a little streaky. And so the only thing you need to do, well, there's two things you can do. One is you can, anywhere you see streaks, you can just add little dots like this. All right. And that sort of gives it a little bit of a cover up on the streaks and a little bit of texture. But you also can just go over it again. Okay, there really is no right or wrong way to do this. I mean, it's just so much fun. Okay, and then I'm going to add in just a couple highlights here. And then I'm going to do, because I did this one smaller or more curved, I think I'm going to bring this one up a little bit more, just so you can see the difference and how you can change it around just to suit what you want to do. All right, that's it. Oh, let's give him a little bit of color on his tail. Okay, so I'm going to use just a minute, where did I put my lid? Here it is. The cow. Okay, I'm going to use my gold yellow blend. All right, and I'm going to use the darkest one. Okay, so now this is a bigger picture, bigger image. And so one of the reasons I wanted to do this one for you is to show you, because these are going to be a different color on a cow. I'm going to start over here and I'm just going to imagine where that line would be. Okay, and then I'm just going to color that in. Okay, and I apologize, I pulled my camera down because I like to be a little closer when I'm coloring to my work. So I hope I don't get my head in the picture. I'm going to try really hard not to. Oops, oh, I went over there. It's okay. And I'm just going to go up to that line. All right. So that was easy, right? Very easy. Okay, and then I'm just going to add right here. And then I'm going to just turn this a bit. And I'm going to give this a little bit of definition here. And I want to do the ears. And color that one right in. And then I'm going to do another shading section here. And because this is a bigger image, I'm making the shading sections pretty big. All right, so that's that. And then I'm going to take my my antique pink blend again. I'm going to use the lightest color this time. And I'm just going to do just a little bit. Okay, no, I'm not going to use the lightest. That's good. And then just do a little dot of color there. Okay, so that is the cow. Now, if you didn't want to even do that much, if you wanted to do less than that, you could. All right, you can take your line even lower. Okay, so I'm just going to go across this way. All right, and then I'm just imagining where the line would be if I drew it right across the spots. Okay, and then I'm just going to fill in everything around. And remember, when you've got a bigger surface like this, if you want to, you can go over it a second time. Okay. All right, and then let's do I'm just going to do a really narrow line here. So this is my more minimalist cow. And we're just going to go down a bit. I'm going to make just a very tiny shadow there. And I'm going to do a smaller surface here as well. And this time I'll do the horns. There. And then, oh, maybe we'll do the end of the tail. Okay, so there they are. Technique 1. You do not need to color everything, okay? Not at all. All right, so I will post a picture of this in the Facebook group once this is all done. All right, now come the cupcakes. All right, so I'm going to show you 2 different things that you can do to really make your coloring fast and easy and fun. Okay, so the first one is going to be, believe it or not, using gray to shade. All right, so I picked out this coral and this sort of minty coral blend. And then it's a green turquoise blend, but in my mind, it's mint. All right. Excuse me. And we're going to do the icing with the coral. We're going to do the cupcake holder with the mint. And then I have this tan shades that I'm going to use to color in the top of the cupcake. All right, between the liner and the icing. Okay. All right, and you can see here I was working with some colors here, trying to figure out what I wanted to do. So for this one, I'm going to use my mid color. And no, just a minute, I forget what I was doing here. Well, I'm using my dark color. This is my lightest color of the coral, and this is my darkest color. All right, and I am going to use both of them, but not in the same technique. All right, so here, I'm just going to color this in. Now, I'm not sure how familiar you are with the whole idea of warm and cool colors. So what I did was I made a chart up, and I also found a pie graph that shows you samplings of cool colors and warm colors. Now, this orangey pink color, this coral color, is warm. And you need to know this to pick your gray. So you want to match warm colors with your warm gray and cool colors with your cool gray. And in the Spectrum Noir family, they don't call it a warm gray. They call it brown gray. There it is. So brown gray blend. And then I've also got brown gray shades. All right. And so in the world of Spectrum Noir, the way this works is we have our light, our mid, and our dark in the blend. This is the very lightest gray you have. Then if we take this one and add it, going in the same direction, light, mid, and dark on the right, all right, this is the entire spectrum of grays that you have in warm shades. Okay. Now, when you're picking a gray to go with your color, you want to go a shade deeper. All right, so I know for sure it's not going to be the blends. It's going to be one of these. And I'm thinking it might be the mid. Let's just have a look and see. Yeah, I think that's going to be a good one. So now I'm just going to do some highlights here. Okay, and a little bit here. Let's just do a little bit there. You're going to be amazed at this. You're probably thinking, oh my gosh, gray? Really? Okay, so that's that. Now I'm going to go back to my original color, and I'm going to color over it again. And I'm going to spend a little bit of extra time at the place where the two colors met, just to get my blends going the way I want them. Smooth that out. And it's just like you're sandwiching the gray in between the two layers of your coral color. Now, is this not easy? Holy camole, so easy. And because you're using alcohol markers, if something doesn't look exactly the way you want it to look, you just go back and add another layer. One of the things I love the most about alcohol markers is your ability to layer with them. It's kind of like the Distress Oxide inks. See, basically, I'm not even paying attention to where the shadows are where the highlights need to be. I'm just coloring. And the only thing I'm really paying attention to is where the gray meets the coral. I'm just spending a little bit of extra time, putting a little bit of extra ink down to make sure those blends look good. Okay. Now I think the only thing I want to do here, got the right one? Yeah, let's just put that one over there so I don't mix it up again. Is I want to add just a little bit more here. Just to even it out. I should have done that at the beginning, but I didn't, so oh well. Okay, and I'm just going to go over that again. Since I added more coral, there. Okay, oh, that looks stunning. Oh my gosh. Who would have thought it, right? Okay. So now I'm going to use that tan one. Where did I put it? There. The darkest. So this is my tan blend. I'm using the dark one. And I'm just going to color that in. Wait a minute. Is this the color I wanted? No, it isn't. I knew that didn't look right. I want this one, the middle one. Okay, so I'm using the tan shades, which is the darker. And now you know how Spectrum Noir colors work together with between the shades and the blends. And I'm just coloring this in. Okay, now I am taking an extra bit of time with this because I want to make sure you completely understand how this works. But when you're doing this on your own at home, you do not need to take this much time with it. Just pick your colors out and away you go. All right, so for this one, now we're going to be using the green turquoise blend, and I'm using the darkest color again. And I'm going to turn this. All right, and I'm just going to color this in. I'm going to go pretty quick. And you don't need to worry about filling in absolutely every bit white because you know you're going to go over it again, right? Because we want this to be fun. We want it to be fast. And we want it to be easy. Okay. Now we know that our greens, mints, things like blues, things like that are all cool colors. So for that, I'm going to go to my ice gray blend. Now this is in the world of Spectrum Noir, remember? Okay, so these are the cool grays, and it works exactly the same. So I've got my blend marker here. I've got my light on this end, my dark on this end, and I've got my ice gray shades here. And I want the light on this end and the dark on this end. Okay, and as you go across, you can see from the very lightest shade here, go all the way across to here, and that's the darkest shade of cool gray you have, is right there. Okay, and I think I'm just going to try the mid here. I just want to see what it's going to look like. Okay, I actually think that might be a little too dark, so I'm going to go with the light. I'm still in the shades, the ice gray shades. I think that would be better. Okay, and I'm just going across here. And then I'm going to go down the sides and do a little across the bottom. Okay. Go back to my green turquoise blend, my darkest, and I'm going to go over the whole thing again. Remember, we're just sandwiching the gray in between the two layers of green, and I'm going to spend a little bit of extra time and put a little bit more ink down where the two colors meet, just to make sure my blends look the way I want them to. Now, how easy is this? And look at this cupcake. This looks like I'm a master colorer or colorist. Does that not look amazing? I love it. Okay, so then to finish off, I'm going to grab my white marker, not white marker, my white jelly roll for highlights. And I'm using my 10 because that's my thickest nib. Trying to make sure it's working. Okay, and then I'm just going to add, okay, I'll just start up here. And I'm just going to add a few highlights here. Where do I want to put? I think over here. On there. And let's do that little spot there. Okay, I think I'm fine with that. Okay, done. Does that not look stunning? I am so happy with that. Okay, so that's your second fast and easy technique, is shading with gray. Now your last one is, it takes a little bit more work, but it's still very, very easy and it's a lot of fun. All right, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my same colors. I'm going to take my turquoise, my green turquoise, and my coral blend. Okay, sorry, I have my coral shades here, I didn't realize that. But this time I'm going to lay down the lightest color. Because what I'm doing here is I'm just simply giving my image a base. That's all I'm doing here. Okay, and again, you don't really need to worry too much about perfection here. Now, because I'm using the lightest color, I'm trying not to go over the lines, because even the best ink, if you're using the light colors in the alcohol marker world, they still sometimes will smudge. So I'm just quickly getting down my base. And you do not need to worry about streaks or tiny little spaces that are missed. All we want is a nice base here. Okay, that's it. So same color, just a lighter shade. Okay, now I'm going to grab my pencil crayons. Well, I'm going to call them pencil crayons. Okay, and these are the two that I've picked to use for the oops, not for the, for the icing. Okay, I'm using Saltwater Taffy and I'm using Abandoned Coral. And how I picked these is they are two shades that are just a little bit darker, all right, than the base I laid down. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with my darkest one. And I'm just going to do a little bit of coloring around the outside edge. Okay, and I'm not pressing. Too hard, just enough to get some of that color. Now, did you know that you can use pencil crayons on top of alcohol markers? Okay, this is a relatively new thing for me. So I want to thank, I think her name was Jennifer from Color Bliss, because she was the one that I saw her video and I watched, and it was cool. Now, the thing with what you're asking probably why I bothered with the alcohol marker, it's because when you're using pencil crayons or crayons, you have to work pretty hard to get rid of the white in the background. And what using this alcohol marker does is it's fast to fill in, and it does a great job of covering the white because it fills in even in small areas that you might miss. So it's kind of like giving yourself that first layer of shading, and then you're going to use the pencil crayons to fill in the rest. Now this is my lighter color, okay, but it's still a shade darker um, than my base color. So now I'm going to just go over the whole thing. And look at that. Like, it's amazing how easy this is and how nice it looks. Now you're going to get quite a different look than you will with all alcohol markers. But if you're going for something softer and you still want this to be fast, then this really is the way to go. Now you can use regular pencil crayons, but the like, you know, the pencil crayons that the kids use for school, like Laurentian and that, they really don't cut it for this kind of work because they don't have as much pigment in them. It's a lot of wax. Whereas a high quality crayon like this has wax in it because it needs a binder, right? But it's got a huge amount of pigment in it. So it works really, really well. Okay. All right, now I want to add just a little bit more of the dark down here. And again, you can see I'm just layering my colors. I'm not taking a lot of time. And then I just want to go over with my mid color. But you see how fast that is? Now, the thing about using a highlight, like we did on here on the alcohol markers, is because there's so much wax in pencil crayons, it's harder to put highlights on. Okay, so that's that. Now I'm going to just add my cupcake color here. Okay, and again, I'm just filling it in. Just because we're making this fast and easy and fun, right? So we're not going to worry about all the little details for shading because it's just a small bit of cupcake showing. Okay, so that's that. Now, I'm going to, for the liner, I'm going to use my same color, my green turquoise blend, but I'm going to the lightest color. And I'm going to do the same thing I did for the top, for the icing. I'm just going to lay down a base. And you see how fast it comes together when you have that base of color and you don't have to worry about filling in all the white. Okay, so that's that. Now, for those two colors, I picked Salvaged Patina and Evergreen Bow. You say evergreen? Wait, like, it's amazing. All right, how good it looks. Okay, so I'm going to do pretty much what I did for the icing. I'm going to just add a little bit of this green. Now look at that. Is that not a great color match? Just going to do even a little more here. Okay, you want it nice and dark. I'm not pressing a whole lot. Just enough that I get my coverage. I'm going to go down the side. But look how fast this is. Now, it would not be this fast if I had white background, guaranteed, because you have a lot more coloring you have to do to get rid of all the white in the background. But I don't have to do that with this technique. Okay, so now I'm coming in with my mid color, and I'm just going to spend a little bit more time, add a little bit more pressure where the color joins. So I have it all filled in there. Now I'm just going to go back over where I added the dark color. I just want to smooth the line out a bit. Now you'll notice I didn't worry with either of these techniques about flicking or shading or like any of that stuff. And look how fast that is. I'm just, yeah, I never cease to be amazed at this. Okay, and you can see like how fast I'm working there. Look at that. So much softer look than you get with all alcohol markers, but we expect that, right? And sometimes the softer look is what you're going for. Okay, so that's 3 different ways that you can do your coloring that makes it fast and fun and easy. All right, so we've got our little bits of color. That's what we'll call it. Bits of color. We've got our shading with gray, and then we've got our pencil crayons. All right, I hope you like these. I hope you give at least one of the techniques a try. And if you do, please share a picture. It doesn't have to be a finished product. Just share a picture into the Facebook group of what you did. All right. Please don't forget to like this video and subscribe if you can. All right. Really helps to spread the word about my channel. We'll be talking to you very, very